Hello, everyone. My name is Blythe Butler. I am the Network Weaver and Lead Consultant for the First 2000 Days Network. This is an introductory presentation to share with you the history and background and principles behind the First 2000 Days Network. So we hope you enjoy. First off, we are a network that defines itself as a collective response of community members, organizations, and professionals with a passion for making progress on the vision. And the vision is essentially around children, that all children from conception to age 6 are supported by family and community in order to reach their optimal development. This vision statement came from a collective process whereby neighborhood coalitions in Calgary and area who were focused on early childhood development through the ECMAP project, as well as action teams that were being convened by the United Way of Calgary and area, came together and agreed on this collective vision statement. This was about 5 years ago. I'm speaking March 2016. So we've been working with this definition for a long time. What we mean by optimal development was based on the categories of the early development instrument. So there are 5 key areas of development in the early childhood development realm as measured by the EDI. Essentially, why are we called the first 2,000 days? Well, that's because there's essentially 2,000 days in a child's life from 0 to age 5 or to the age where a child enters kindergarten. And we know from research from the American National Scientific Council on the Developing Child, which began in around 2003, that about 85%, if not more, of the brain's wiring happens in those first 2,000 days of life. So what happens in those first 2,000 days has lifelong impacts on learning and behavior and health. And certainly the work of the Alberta Family Wellness Initiative in helping us disseminate that information into our daily lexicon of when we're doing our work around early childhood development has been invaluable and a huge shift, I think, provincially for all of us, those of us working in ECD. So the first 2,000 Days Network is essentially devoted to just that, those first 2,000 days in a child's life. What's the opportunity? Why is it so important to focus on this time of life? Well, one of the arguments is certainly economic, and research by Heckman and others have stated that for every dollar invested in early childhood development, returns essentially at least $8 into society over time in prevented crime rates, prevented other need for social intervention. So we know that there's an economic argument for investing in early childhood development. It's a no-brainer, and there is tons of research on this. So encourage you to go searching for ROI on ECD and see what you come up with. There's many great resources out there that will provide support for this point. As a network, we have a purpose, and our purpose is different, and it's a little bit niche in terms of the early childhood development sector. Our purpose statement reads as such: the First 2,000 Days Network acts as a catalyst for linking, aligning, and leveraging efforts in the early childhood development system to enable collective action toward improving ECD outcomes. And we like to say, if you're reading this, you should be asking yourself a few questions. So what does linking, aligning, and leveraging actually look like? What is the early childhood development system? How is that defined? Is that commonly understood? Who plays in that system? What is collective action? How would you know if you're doing it or not? And then again, what are ECD outcomes? How do we know that we're improving outcomes for children, and how do you define those? So this is a very loaded purpose statement, and we've been spending the past at least 3 years trying to unpack this for ourselves so that we understand the kind of difference we're trying to make. Our theory of change, we have a very robust evaluation strategy. Our theory of change is that if we are able to build on the momentum in the early childhood development space in Calgary and area through linking, aligning, and leveraging what's working, we will have better outcomes at the system, agency, and community level, which ultimately mean better outcomes for children. So another way to read this theory of change is that the network is acting almost like the white space or the glue within the sector to make sure we're aligning what's already going on. We're not about inventing new things. The network as an entity is not a funder, and we don't have early childhood development related programs and services. We really see ourselves as this middle ground where the sector comes together to learn and build a capacity of how to work together differently. So we are approaching this from a very unique perspective. This slide actually just shows a small, infinitesimal percentage of the amount of resources we've drawn on to inform our development over the past 5 years. Many of these documents, those of you looking at this slide will recognize them. Some of them have to do with network theory. Some of them have to do with collective impact approaches. Some of them have to do with early childhood development globally and locally. So we are drawing on a lot of great work done by others. The network is striving to be a collective impact initiative, and this is a great visual that describes the collective impact process, or I suppose the ideal of what collective impact is driving towards. And there's a great YouTube link at the bottom there that I would recommend everyone to go look at. A video just describes collective impact in a very, very simple way. We're also a network. We are the first 2000 Days network. And what does that mean? It ultimately means, most importantly, that we have a different mindset when we're entering into the work we're doing. So we are talking about getting clear on what it means to build trust, to develop information flows that are continuous feedback loops for quality improvement. We are not guiding our development by traditional organizational or conventional organizational metrics. We are really trying to understand how networks function, specifically organic networks, not mandated ones, and testing whether or not we're being helpful or useful or have a quality network. This is our version of what it looks like to demonstrate what linking network theory and collective impact theory looks like. You'll see in the middle here some wording that should map over the collective impact literature. There is a backbone team, essentially, or a backbone functions that are being done by a team at the center here from the network's perspective. And then we have people or initiatives that branch off from that. And these are in the broader network, in the community of ECD. This is what goes on. So we have network change leads who are looped back into the center. And those network change leads link with other network participants who could be doing all kinds of work in the early childhood development sector. But this model actually provides that continuous feedback loop, which is part of the collective impact framework. And we're calling each of these sort of cluster of nodes change collectives. So they could be on a number of different topics relating to early childhood development, but we're trying to essentially use this middle function to keep an eye on everything that's going on out there and find those opportunities for mutually reinforcing activities or alignment, essentially, in the sector. The network also has developed a series of guiding principles for how we operate. Many of these are taken from the research out of the University of Denver, Colorado. You'll see a reference down here to that literature, and has also been vetted with members of the Backbone team, the First 2000 Days Network's backbone. These are the behaviors that we are trying to model in ourselves because they're the kind of behaviors we want to create in others in order to accelerate collective action and in order to prove that we are indeed a high quality organic network. We have a mindset that allows us to build that. One of the focuses of the First 2000 Days Network is a strong bias or intention around evaluation. So this slide just shows a few of the ways that we're addressing not only evaluation but also shared measurement and outcomes. So we have something called a learning and evaluation strategy, which is a separate document to our strategic development plan, which outlines our learning philosophy and approach in a lot of detail. This slide just shows 4 main ways that we're doing this. So we're measuring our collective impact capacity with an internally developed scorecard. We're assessing our internal network functioning. So what are the people in the network contributing? Is it actually value to them? We have external network effectiveness, which is maps of who's participating in the network, who self-identifies with the network, what kind of value and trust do they perceive from the network, and also our shared measurement requirement as part of a collective impact initiative. How are we approaching shared measurement? And on that front, we have just released a capacity building and engagement strategy, which articulates what shared measurement means to us in this grand space of early childhood development. Should mention that the network metrics and analysis that we're doing, we've been supported by the folks at the Center for Collaborative Governance out of the University of Denver, Colorado, and they've been extremely helpful in using their partner tool to help us get a handle on some of these things. This is also from the folks at the Center for Collaborative Governance, and it talks about systems outcomes. And it's extremely important because it is at the core of the network's theory of change, which we talked about already. Systems outcomes are not the same as population or client outcomes. They are intermediary outcomes that reflect the way that organizations interact, share resources, and implement work. So they're process outcomes. And the network is fundamentally interested in process outcomes at this stage. We have a framework for how we would know if we were impacting early childhood development outcomes. That's the Strengthening Families approach out of the Center for the Study of Social Policy in the US. So we do know what kind of ECD outcomes we're striving for. But as a network, we're also very intentional about these process or systems outcomes. And to that end, we understand that this cycle of adaptive learning around the outside of this circle needs to support change at an individual, group, institutional, and organizational level, which will ultimately lead to community and system outcomes and systems change, which you see in the center of that circle. And in order to do that, the network is embarking in the next phase of our development as a capacity building agency, initiative. We want to test whether deliberate capacity building in the ECD sector by linking, aligning, and leveraging existing work and improving it based on a shared measurement framework is possible. So we are launching into a very exciting time where we're going to test that, test our theory of change very deeply and see if it produces a change in the community, in the system, in the organizations that we are working with, and we're very excited. So that gives you a high-level overview of the First 2000 Days Network. If you'd like more information, you can visit our website. We're on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. And we also have some foundational documents that I referenced, including our strategic development plan, our engagement and capacity building plan, and our learning and evaluation strategy. So if you're interested in any of those documents or would like to have access to them, please get in touch with us, and we'd love to start the conversation with you. Thanks very much. We'll talk to you soon.